and the other one is has been our state senator over the last 2 years. Well, one of the things they're up for a debate coming in October. One of the things that people have put out is it should be common sense who we need to vote for. It should be common sense who we need to vote for. One of the guys is very articulate. He speaks well and all those things. And the other guy just seems like he don't know what's going on. Half the time it seems like he might have taken too many hits on the football field. But one of the things you have to understand, and we have to understand this, when you select a politician, you want them to do what you want them to do. And that's where we go back to either buying, leasing, renting, or controlling the efforts and actions of a politician. In the case of our brother Herschel Walker, only thing he has to do is say yes or no. That's it. Yes or no. If there's a bill that needs to be pushed in a particular direction and the people that he represents uh, won't hear him say yes, they'll make sure he gets elected. Again, if he does exactly what they want him to do. Now, sometimes, especially when it comes to black and brown people, a lot of our issues don't get addressed. A lot of our issues do not get addressed, whether it's issues dealing with uh, things that are critical to the black community. But we do have power. We have the power to get those people out of there. But over the years, we've aligned ourselves in such a way that a lot of, especially young people, say, well, why should I vote? Why should I vote? Why should I vote for the same people that do the same thing that doesn't look like I get any results? Hmm, that's a good question. And I think, especially if you looked over the politics over the last maybe 8 years, that was something that, whether you agree with him or not, that Donald Trump was able to run on. He said, well, what have they done for you lately? Hmm, that made people think. People started to think, what have they done for me? And then they voted their thoughts. Now, you could say that people have been a lot more polarized. We live in a generation or a society now that is more social media. So people see things that they would not normally see. So we find out a lot about these parties that we didn't know before. We were kind of loyal. We find out that many of uh, the things that we thought they represented it to us weren't there. Uh, so people are in a state of not being as happy as they could be with this whole political system. Now, some people say, well, can they just, get rid of it? Well, you got chaos and disorder. If we just get rid of the political system, you know, it'll be somewhat of a chaos and disorder. We do have a system that if it works properly, if it works properly, it's good and it
Yeah.
can work for everybody. But we have to put ourselves in position so that we can outline our objectives, the things that we want, and we have to hold a politician accountable for those things. We have to look at politicians, like I said earlier, as like a like a car. If that car doesn't perform like you want it to perform, you get rid of it. If that car is getting poor gas mileage, if that car is giving you mechanical problems, you get rid of it. So we have to do the same thing with politicians. But now I'm joined by our special guest, and she's been busy. She's all around. It's Sharon J. Hill. How you doing, my sister?
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, you coming in live and clear, sister. How you doing?
Okay. Yes, it has been a long, I would say 2 weeks, but you all know it's through the summer and everything that we're working, getting out the vote. That is what you're speaking to, the importance at this time. And interestingly, I just finished with voter registration today.
Wow.
As well, this past week was National Voter Registration Day, and please excuse my voice. You hear it cracking. Um, And that's just it's been going. Last weekend we had the Vote Equality RV come through from here in Cobb County to Dunwoody, making sure that we were in our different communities. So with the NAACP, we were at Cobb Civic Center, we were at a vegan restaurant as well, and then the Latino Hispanic Heritage festival that was in Dunwoody, and my cohort Juliana Ejuku made sure of that happening, and Democracy Center here with Dr. Monica Brown and others. I want to thank, of course, Cobb NAACP president, the Cobb County branch NAACP President Jareen Grimes, and the whole team for us being at Cobb Civic Center registering, making sure that people understood that the information was there with from the Muslim Voter Project to COP Collaborative as well, People's Agenda, Georgia Now, other organizations. And that's what the RV represented. A lot of organizations wanting to make sure that we get out the vote and that we get an understanding of who is running for office and that they are answering to our needs. You are speaking to what are we voting for, right?
Right.
what what why are we voting? We're voting
Why are we
because
voting?
because it's time. It is that time that has been set to look at what needs to be done with current representation. And let's
Mm,
just remember, we have to get back to this whole thing about ensuring that we have representation, Reginald. That's it.
yes.
That you have it in, look, where you live. Let's be real, break it really down as to what we are speaking to when we are talking about voting. And that is where you live, your neighborhood, the district that is represented um, by this city council. If you are in unincorporated area, it is only the county person as well, House or Senate for the state, and then for federal, Congressman, you Congresswoman, U.S. Senate. Doesn't matter. They all, whether you are in their district or not, they all represent us all for each one of those areas. And so it's important to actually stay connected and let them know that I'm sorry, you are my employee.
Right.
That's
I
the
think we
essence.
forget that sometimes.
We forget that. And so that's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks because we're getting down to the wire. We're trying to make sure
Okay.
that everyone is registered before October the 11th. That is voter registration deadline. And to the point that National Voter Registration Day was on the 20th, this Tuesday, that means 50 days from the election. And so making it, yeah, and so that means what? We're 40, what now? Because what? That was how many days ago was that? 5 days?
That was about,
that was
yes.
that was five that was 5 days ago, right? So now we're down to 45 days and counting. And because we know that with SB 202, so much has happened to our election calendar, these are the things that we have to make sure of. But more importantly, again, back to the why are we voting? It is for our livelihood in our communities, in our neighborhood. It will
Hmm.
always come down to that. Um, Someone was just telling me about no lines in the street. Well, let's. It was my father in Augusta.
Okay.
actually in Hepzibah, that on Tobacco Road there are no divider lines in the street. I mean, just just basic lanes, exactly.
Just
And guess
asphalt.
what? That's a 5-lane road,
Whoa.
exactly. And so I said, "But Daddy, it's like I've said before, you and your friends are talking, and guess what?" And he also said that, well, the representatives, some of them live in that area,
Right.
and so now I have to round back to my point. You need to go talk to them. You need to show up. You need to
Right.
show up. Take a picture of the road without the lines. Go to the county commission meeting. Go and show. Show up and go and show.
Right.
what
I like
needs
that.
to
I like that.
what, what needs to happen in the community of what they have not done? How long has it been? These are the things that we have to do to hold them accountable. It's no different than when you have an employee, you give an evaluation, what, after 90 days?
Right.
Okay, then what? Right? And so they need to hear from you and you need to hear from them. And also make a point. A paper trail. I'm like, you were in the military. You know how important a paper trail is. Email
Yeah.
them
Cover
people.
your asset. Cover your
Look,
assets. Yeah.
wait a minute. Did you hear me? I didn't say email. I didn't say email them. I said email them people. Okay.
Well,
You know,
you
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 know,
bring up uh you bring up a strong point. Sometimes people we'll talk amongst each other. We'll say, "Man, they ain't doing this, they ain't
that's
doing that," you know. But
right.
when it comes down to rallying behind an effort, to go, uh,
Yeah.
people go on the courthouse steps and plead their point and they meet their politicians. In some of these little small towns, like I had said earlier, they want the politician to say yes when they want a yes. They want the politician to say no when they
When they
want a
want to
no,
know.
and they will check them. They will hold them accountable. They know that that job is not permanent. I think sometimes uh, they say in the black and brown community is three people that get a pass: politicians, preachers, and teachers. Well, you can't give these people a pass. You're gonna have to be in their face. And if it's something that you need on a local level, where it's roads being paved, if it's on the state level, you want to make sure those unemployment checks go through and make it and all that type stuff. You want to make sure that even if they don't win, you want to make sure your representative voted in your favor. See, a lot of people, other
That's a
people, they
point.
don't mind if they don't get what they wanted. They just want to look. When you look and see what these politicians have voted on, you say, "Man, this guy wasn't even there. He was absent." Or this guy voted no. I thought he was representing me.
Bring
So
it back.
the
That's right.
accountability,
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
It is our responsibility for their accountability to us as a voter that voted for them. That is where the rubber meets the road. I can give you the quotes from our civil rights and voting rights leaders, Dr. Joseph Laurie. Voting is a sacred right and moral obligation. Also the late Dr. Amelia Platts Boynton Robinson,
mm-hmm.
the matriarch of the voting rights movement, that a voteless people is a hopeless people, as
Whoa,
well as, as well, that voting is your ticket to first class citizenship. But
Wow.
that can also be voting is your first class ticket.
Okay.
Okay, to citizenship. So the meaning that this is, as a citizen, be first class. Vote.
Whoa.
Vote your
Well,
voice. Vote your
you,
choice by your voice. The ballot power is in your hands. And knowing the candidates, thankfully, that is, of course, what is important is knowing who's on the ballot.
hmm
There can be, of course, candidate forums, debates. Let's hear from them. Uh,
right.
have they come to your church? And so this is something that um, I'm, you
Well,
try to get
uh,
over. Uh-oh, is there a
holding
question?
that,
Is there a
yes.
question?
Uh,
Okay.
polls. Can we trust polls here in
Oh,
Georgia? It's saying the Democrats are ahead of the Republicans in the polls, and sometimes that can be misleading because
well,
people say, "Oh, I ain't got to do nothing."
right.
You know.
But now
Uh.
it's showing that it's the other way around. And let's be real clear now.
hmm
Polls don't vote, people do.
Ooh. Say that again.
Polls don't vote, people do.
Wow.
So while it is a gauge, and of course, here we go with there's a science in the data, and so they polled, I think I was watching the show this morning and they said, okay, this poll only polled like 800 and some people, okay, and this is how that came out, that one was
Right.
over the other. But we don't need to be paying attention to polls because it's
Okay.
just what you said. Oh, so and so is 50 something percent over. So over the other one. Oh well. Oh well then I don't need to go. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Right.
It's gonna
Right.
happen. And then
Mhm.
it doesn't, because every vote counts. It is so very important to understand how one vote and can change everything. And
Right.
I'm going to segue into absentee voting because um, that has shown to be a difference as well. If anyone
Oh, okay.
remembers, if anyone remembers Kwame Kilpatrick, I'm sorry, not that's Detroit. Lord have mercy. Talking about Abernathy here.
Okay.
Um, he lost by 125 absentee ballots.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, it matters here in Cobb County. Mary Frances Williams. Now he was running, I think, what was it, for either the commission or a state house, but she ran
Okay.
for the house and she won by 146 absentee ballots, and
Wow.
the opponent called for a recount.
Okay.
When they recounted, she gained a vote.
Wow.
Yes, because of how that occurs, absentee ballots. So uh, even with now, that was then, this is now. We have to be diligent, you all, for our making sure of our vote. Yes, I know the date, the timeline for submitting your absentee ballot application has been short. You all, it used to be 6 months, but we fought like I don't know what to get people to do that. And again, here comes that adage: if you don't use it,
You lose it.
okay, we lost it. And so now it's just what, 75 days. Is it 75? 45. Oh goodness.
Ooh.
Doesn't matter. It's not 6 months. How about that one?
Hey,
And so
cut it down.
really down. And
Yeah.
so, but again, we can't be distracted. Because see, what happens is when we have to, what do you call it, think too hard about something,
Oh, right.
okay, then it's what you said. Oh, well, forget that, right? Oh, well, man, you got to do this. Man, you got to do that. No,
Oh, yeah.
man, we got to do this together.
Yeah.
And so making sure that the your voter status is checked on the My Voter page. Everybody should know that and should be sharing that. Family, friends, go back, call, tell mom and them, let them know to check
Oh,
their voter status
ooh,
all the time. Because even if you voted in the last election, who knows? Because of how things are going, you could be purged. That is a
okay.
reality. So check it often, check it, and check with your friends and family as well.
Oh,
It's My Voter page right now because, of course, it is top. You don't even have to put in the address. If you just Google My Voter page, right? It
it's
will
in.
come up. Click on the link, put your information in. Let's make it happen. We did it
Mm.
and we need to do it again.
And
It will
and
take
we did
all of
have
us.
a
Oh,
question
the
out there. I think
question.
there,
Come on.
Letitia. We were looking at 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when Stacey Abram uh, and a lot of others pushed for massive registration. A lot of people registered to vote, and they voted, and they changed what we say Georgia from red to blue.
It
Okay,
is
that was
not blue.
one of the
That
reasons why we
that's a misnomer. It is not blue. Let's be
right,
real.
yeah. well, well, explain
Okay.
that because
You know,
sometimes people think they say we
well,
good, we
because it's
good.
a narrative. It's just a narrative.
Okay,
It's a narrative that gets put out there, but we have to be, and that's why we have to be in the streets, on the ground, how you say, with the people, to make sure they're
right.
getting an understanding. All is not lost. We just have to be diligent to do what we know needs to be done, and that is to vote. We still have 600,000 people that are registered that did not vote. So much could have been carried over for other candidates. And something that was brought up this morning was about the fact about the more commercials for the
Oh
top
yeah,
ballot candidates versus the lower part of the ballot, those candidates in the
right.
districts, right? So what we have to understand is that, again, knowing who represents us locally is vitally important. So get your sample ballot. Early
I'm
voting,
looking.
early voting will begin October 17th. Okay. And you need to have your sample ballot. I really need to caution right here because we really want you to know who you will be voting for. And that's really key. Yes, we have statewide candidates and we have the congressional candidates. Now, congressional, of course, are regional. We have 14 congressional districts. And so you will have that congressional district. That's why My Voter page is so important because it gives you that information as well. Thankfully, to former state representative Donna McLeod, she made sure that the My Voter page also brought to you who represents you at the House and the Senate. It had not been on there before. Mind you, you still have to go and look it up, okay? But it will tell you what the district is. See, that's the difference. It will say the district, and then when you click on it, it will take you to the House or the Senate page. Then you go and
Hmm.
find that number, okay? And the other thing is the fact that the My Voter page has changed. Doesn't look like it used to. You still put your information in when you click on it, it comes straight up, but other information are, across on tabs. So how you say, don't be alarmed. It is still the same
Right.
one. We just now have to navigate a little bit differently, but you still can track your absentee ballot. You can register. You can register for your absentee ballot application as
Hmm.
well, and you can track the absentee ballot as well as pull down your sample ballot,
And
which
I was looking.
you need to do, at least pull it up. And you
Oh
know
yeah.
what? I have to say that we have to be our sisters and brothers keepers, Reginald. It is so important, um, because understanding that people may have a phone, but they don't have data without Wi-Fi. That's
Mm,
our reality. Just because you have a phone
right.
don't mean that they're able to access information. And so it is so important that if you are on your phone and if you are using Wi-Fi, please, please, please go to my voter page,
Mm,
bookmark your sample ballot or a screenshot so it will be in the photo. Um, and yes, it may be a couple of pages, but how you
right.
say, do what you got to do to get it done.
Gotta do what
We
and you know
understand
what?
as understanding
Uh,
limitations, but for everyone. And then let's be real clear for those of us that have, to be aware of those who don't. And so you can help guide them. Okay, there's only so much we really can do now. Help guide to my voter page with the information to pull up their who represents them, the precinct, and make sure that it is your current address because that determines your precinct. And remember, the other reason to check my voter page is because precincts change. The Board of Elections and Registrations changes if you're not paying attention to the County Board of Elections meetings. We encourage everyone, of course, to, as much as possible, to either attend in person or virtually so that you can actually speak to them with questions. They have the
right.
questions. Archive County location just changed, and they actually have in the front the area for disabled as well as seniors when you come in, and the drop box is right there. So what I
Mm,
like to say, Reginald, is don't be distracted. This is what we have to do for SB 202 and you is forge forward, follow the guidelines, and get it done.
right.
All we
Well,
have to.
I I thought about, and this was back when Obama, back in 2008. One of the things that we did have back then, I don't know where they're available online, but we would look at sample ballots. We would have encourage people to do sample ballot review parties at their home. Now some
And
people still do that. You know,
well, and
uh,
but that's what I need to that okay, so that is really what I'm wanting to make sure is understood,
mhm,
that even in those, if you're having the party, that everyone is at the same precinct. Because
right,
if okay, because remember, some precincts, the people on the other side of the street, or even three or five doors down, are at at another precinct.
right, right,
That
right, right.
that's
Uh,
why we have to be very careful when we are talking about sample ballots.
mhm.
We
Well,
we
even
have to.
well,
And
well,
again, you can still have the party. I'm just wanting
yeah.
to make sure that
Let's make
someone,
sure.
because
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why I'm adamant about it, because I was in another meeting and someone said, "Oh yeah, we printed out absentee the sample ballots, and and we passed them out in the neighborhood. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not something you need to do.
Right. Okay.
That is not, because see, people will show up and they'll say, "Well, I didn't know so and so wasn't on the ballot." You remember
Mhm.
hearing that
Right.
at some time during elections, and it's because that's not for your district, your precinct.
Right.
That's why,
And
and
you
that's why
when you
you
bring
need
up
to know for yourself. That's what I'm
right.
speaking about.
Yeah.
Knowing for
Well,
yourself.
well, definitely, you know, uh, not necessarily just looking at the sample ballot, but just making people sure people within your family are
Oh
registered to
yes,
vote, and
that's
then
why.
knowing
That's
where to
why.
go and that type thing.
That's right.
One of the things
That's why my
that we
voter
did
page.
find is so
Yeah.
important because
Yes.
some people, might not, and I know it sounds easy. People say, well, everybody should know how to do this. People, they've been voting for 400 years. Folks should know how to vote. But everybody doesn't know. I've had people that we picked up to take to the polls,
Hmm.
and we found out that 5 or 6 folks in the same
We're at the wrong
vehicle
place.
had to take them to different polls.
That's right. That's
Now,
and I
uh,
rest my case. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
you know, so,
That's
uh, you know, so
but you
many
know the
things are
easiest way
critical.
around that. So look, this
What's
is
that?
how we circumvent that. This is how we circumvent that. Have the party. Oh my goodness. Please, please, please go to the the nursing home, the senior citizen, the whatever else, your family or whatever. Load them up, but know before you go.
Oh, yes.
That's the thing.
Well,
See, all you take is what? A tablet, and make sure and you check every one. And that really, when you speak about having the sample ballot party, that really could be it, just to see, so
oh,
they know. And also, I'm
yes.
hoping that what's included in the party is that you're looking up the candidate. What's on their website? What are they saying? What have they been involved in? Do you know them? Who knows who? Who can speak
Right.
to them, whether they've already been in office, whether they are in the community and now they're advancing to now running for office. These are the items and areas, right, that need to be those critical components of coming together and helping each other. I think it's great. I just really want to make sure that, hey, there's a station where people can go and look up my vote, look up their my voter page with their name, their address, where their precinct is. And guess what else? How about, look,
Hmm.
the precinct area? Where is it?
Okay.
And see, the other thing, as we talk about, the regarding that question about what changed, right, with everybody coming out, we need people early voting.
Okay.
Okay, we need people early voting, and especially if for the absentee ballots, because what happens is people forget. Yes, we have election protection, 866 our vote. However, remember that the elections are handled by the county board of elections and registration. And they're not all
Okay.
called that. Some are just called board of registration, board of elections, different. They're named or transposed, but it's the same. So, but you need to call them, okay? Because once you send it in, that's how you can track it. Then you go to my voter page after a couple of days, because there's supposed to be a 48-hour turnaround for
Okay.
your ballot. And so making sure that you're getting it in during early voting, and actually, what is it, the 16th of this month, you could begin sending it, because see, there's a day to send it in, and
Right.
then there right, then for you to start sending your applications in. Let's make it clear, absentee voting is a process. You
Right.
submit the application, And then once you receive the ballot, you then complete the ballot with the instructions for the different envelopes, and then you send it in or take it to the drop box, take it in
Yeah.
to a
And,
registrar.
you know,
But
I know
but
we,
go ahead.
Sharon, I know we focus on, we this whole thing was about voting. I
Mhm.
voted in the past.
Yeah.
We're up to speed on some of the things we need to vote.
Mhm.
But right now, we're looking at the issues because people are saying, uh, I don't know what these candidates bring to the table. There are a lot of hard issues. One is abortion. When you look at a lot of the other things that people are throwing out, they'll throw a lot of little sidebar conversation out,
Right.
but we have to, some certain people, that's a line in the sand. How do you feel about these abortion issues? How do you feel about uh, the money that comes to the state that was allowed it to the state, but the governor might have, you know,
Done what he
didn't
wanted with
do
it.
what was necessary to make sure it went down to where it
Oh,
was
you
supposed to
talking
go.
about
You know,
ARPA, are you? Speaking about ARPA, are
well,
you?
yeah,
No, no, no.
well,
Call it what it is.
yeah,
Give it a name.
it is what it is. But somebody's stopping the flow. Because people say, "Man, we were just getting this from the federal government. The governor just said we ain't gonna deal with it. Immigration, a couple of big things. Immigration, how they feel about
Mhm.
abortion. You see some of these governors now bus loading and flying folk to sanctuary cities to get them up out of their state. So we got to look at these politicians now and see where they stand. So some of these policies like abortion, uh, even when it comes down to, I saw something on the sample ballot that said, should we amend it where a lieutenant governor or governor can't be prosecuted for something they did when later, it- you know, all this type stuff. But as voters, these are
And
hot button issues that
most
concern
definitely.
us.
Most
How do
most
you
definitely.
find out how these folks feel about those things? The candidates. I mean, is
We
that
have to
available
ask
on?
them. We we
Okay.
we have to we have to ask them. That's what I'm saying. There are the candidate forums. The League of Women Voters will be having in Macon, and it will be virtual. League of Women Voters of
Ah,
Georgia on what is that, Thursday the 29th, in
okay.
Macon. And so it's the agriculture, and that is something that is vital since we're in Georgia. Hello. Some of the candidates are and they are descendants of farmers.
Right.
Quite a
Ooh,
few of
yeah.
them are, as a matter of fact. And so we have them, on the 29th, they will be answering those questions. So the League of Women Voters of Georgia hosting the uh, Commissioner of Agriculture Candidate Forum will be in Macon. However, it will be virtual. So please go to lwvga.org and get that information, sign up. I believe you're supposed to register if you are able to make it in person. But we have other communities. And look, events are happening all around. So I was at the Before Slavery Museum Taste and See today, the Sankofa Festival, and I think it was about 4 or 5 candidates that came through. We had a candidate that came through from Cherokee County. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
see, that's what I'm saying. It's important to understand who's running, and then those that are running need to understand that once wherever you are, you will not only be voting for whatever district you're in. We had the
Mhm.
PSC commission candidate, another district, South Cobb area candidate there, right? Uh, it doesn't matter because once you're in any of these offices, as I said before, other than the city and the county, when you're in the Senate, excuse me, or the House, yes, you will have and you'll introduce laws for your district, but you also will be helping to co-sponsor as well as signing off on, voting on legislation for the whole state. That's
Mm,
why that's why people still need to know you, because you don't know who they know.
right.
It is okay for you to be in an area over here, because guess what? They probably know someone in your district. You'd be surprised. Remember, we are what, 6 degrees? I believe that has been so
Uh,
reduced to
well,
three.
eh,
Exactly, to 3 or 4, if
well,
it's not degrees of separation, really and truly. You know,
it,
um,
Miss
it
Sharon,
it.
I have to put
Was
this
there
out
another
there.
question? Another
Yes,
question?
ma'am.
Hmm.
You know, and what is has voting in the electoral politics really lived up to the expectations and needs of black people? I often think, what would Fannie Lou Hammond have to say about the Democrat Party? Because, I mean, in your opinion, I mean, I know we get excited, but sometimes people starting to say, "Well, how does that happen, black folk?"
And it's interesting that that person mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer. I am from Mississippi, and that's my heroin homegirl. So of course, I actually read her statement to the 1964 Democratic Convention.
Mm,
We was
how?
just trying to register folks to be first class citizens.
Mm,
Okay, but she was beaten and maimed, off the bus or
yeah.
whatever. But she spoke to it and what they were able to create. See, so to that person that asked the question, you are hitting on something that I'm speaking to. We we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, right? Because
Ooh,
we're so ready to move forward that we miss from whence we come. And what worked was us really having a ground game that was communication, where the young people knew what was going on. They carried the message, they were the message of making sure that people knew when the meetings were, carried the papers, the leaflets, and all of that. They were there at the meetings. We had the kitchen table conversations and the coffee table conversations on actually who needed to run. This was one of the things as well that my father pointed out about, when we have 14 people running for one office. Are you serious right now? When we
wow.
have, as the AJC reported, what last quarter, no, 2 quarters ago, that there were 250 vacant departments, commissions, and committee seats. See, we
Wow.
miss where the actual work is being done and the power, because the people in those offices need the people from the commissions, departments, and committees to tell them what needs to be done in the community, from transit, from health and human services, okay, from different areas. And so while everybody is vying for this one spot, we need to be having that conversation, that conscious conversation of, wait a minute,
Right.
you really are a, how you say, your wheelhouse is over here in criminal justice. We need you over here. Let so and so run for this, right? And we need to work on you being appointed to such and such commission or such and such department, and making sure, because here we go, rounding back out to what our issues.
Right.
See, that was what the old guard did. Made sure that it was real strategy. It was what we needed to have happen to put this person here and that person there. That is
Right.
what we have to get back to. And that is why we need people in our communities, the voters, to be engaged, to look at what is happening, to make sure that you are in contact with your elected representative and advising on what is happening in your community. You need to call, register the call. When you call, it's registered. Email, write it down, get other names. We don't need to be that committee of one. We need to have others, and then they speak to those issues. This is so important to us getting back to that community, to right having that village and making sure the village has what it needs. We need to speak with the one voice for the issues. So many people,
Right.
okay, this is your issue right here. You mentioned about abortion. You mentioned, well, what we have to understand is that that's a distraction as well, because when you're speaking to about our community, certain certain numbers are skewed because, excuse me, those aren't the numbers of private doctors.
Mm.
Who goes to private doctors? So those are from clinics
Okay.
that give out uh, free or subsidized treatment.
They're kind of like the
Okay.
polls.
And so who is the underserved that needs free or hello subsidized?
Mm.
All right. So we have to read through and then we have to know for ourselves, know us, that this is not
Right.
us. This
Okay.
is what's perpetrated. And now we stand to say, this, you are putting this on us, but this is about our health care that you're withholding from us
Hmm.
because we only resort to this when it is a health issue the majority of the time. The majority
Okay.
of the time. So you understand what I'm not saying, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Clear.
The majority of the time. Let's be real clear. And so, but because our numbers are there, oh, that can be thrown to us. But we have to be speaking that that is erroneous. It
Right.
is. You are trying to withhold health care of which you've done and left however many, what, $9 billion. Oh my goodness.
That's a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
money.
And nine
That's a lot
billion
of money.
dollars from that's right, from the what, expanding Medicaid, closing hospitals,
Hmm.
people having to drive, and so all of this, to your point about it is about the issues. And so I'm saying, you all, this is our solution. We are the answers that we have been looking for. It is within us to rise within our communities. As I see we're winding down, okay, that we must come together as never before, be together as we must be forging forward,
Wow.
and work together for us to all rise and be what we need to be. And that is to heighten and bring out that ballot power that will be the difference. We did it before, we can do it again. And
Right.
it is reaching each one, reach one, teach all. My voter page, get your sample ballot, vote early, get her done, vote absentee. The primary election, as I was monitoring the polls for election protection, as I arrived in one of our precincts, I think Austell, two men were turned away because it was 7:01. And
Mm.
yes, so why chance it? Please go. And there's Saturday voting in some counties as well as Sunday voting. And I challenge you to get with your churches, your faith centers, to set up the souls to the polls. We are
Okay.
doing that with people's agenda. Look, hey, have your absentee ballot. You have to do it because, see, with SB 202, there are limitations. So you all have to
Right.
do it. We can't take
Oh,
anything anymore. So you do it. My voter page is all you need to know. Everything is there. If you need rides to the polls, it's again 1866 18 ooh 77. I'm sorry, 524-8683. As well. That's across the state. Election protection, any issues at the polls. But before then, make sure any questions you contact your county board of elections. Get the date. Make sure that everybody you know knows. Let
oh,
us not be a voteless people. Those that are registered, go vote. Those that are not registered, please register by October the 11th so that you can get it done. And let's make sure that making sure that once you go vote, that things have changed as well for the provisional ballot. We can talk about that later,
oh yeah.
right before early voting to make sure. But rounding it out, know before you go, know before you vote.
Oh
My
yeah.
voter page. Thank you so very
Uh,
much.
Thank you, Miss
Okay.
Sharon J. Hill. A plethora of information, and I hope that everybody takes heed, like, share, subscribe over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta, but also share with your family, your friends, and your loved ones. Here in the state of Georgia, we got a interesting state because we got two Georgias. A lot of times we think we got it safe here because we in hot Atlanta, but you got hot Atlanta and you got not Atlanta. You got hot Atlanta and you got not Atlanta. That's the rest of the people in Georgia. Atlanta makes up about 60+% of the Georgia population. So we have to think and we have to look and we have to follow up and follow through on those things that are necessary to get the issues that we need. And believe it or not, voting is important and critical. They would not try to stop you from doing it. So with that being said, this is Reginald Drummer, the peopleologist, and this is another opportunity to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And you don't have to be the person that's the poster child for not knowing what to do. Too many times we find ourselves in the position of not knowing what to do. You know what we say over here? The secret of walking on water is just knowing where the rocks are. So we getting the rocks ahead of time. So focus over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you register. Go to my voters page. And with that being said, we'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And believe it or not, we have to be ready. We are at war, whether you admit it or not. Make it a great day.